Okay, yeah. So just before we start, because today is actually just the third webinar we have about like the college spike like webinars. So have you guys attended any of the past webinars? So if you have attended any of our past webinars, you can type one in the chat box. Yeah, you can type one in the chat if you have attended some of those. Okay, great. Yeah, so we do have someone coming from the other webinars. Okay, anyone else? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for your support. It's okay if you are just new here, totally fine. So we are going to have this cool webinar, and also we have the great guest speaker. So it's going to be fun. Okay, yeah, so I think we can get started. So we still have someone joining this webinar, but I think we can just go ahead and get started. Okay, yeah, so first of all here, let me just do some introduction first. So my name is Dennis, and now I'm the teacher at Think Academy. So for me personally, I teach high school math courses and also some math competitions. And also I got my master's degree at Duke University and also got my bachelor's degree at University of Pittsburgh. So I have taught over 1,000 students already in the US at Think Academy. So I also know the concerns and also some questions our high schoolers may have. Okay, all right, and also we also have our guest speaker, Richie here. So of course, we are going to give Richie the spotlight, and he's going to share something about his experience and also what he feels about college application. And also during this webinar, if you have any questions, you can always scan my QR code on WeChat. So I have my QR code at the bottom right corner, just in case if you don't see that. Yeah, so you can scan the code anytime if you have any questions. And we also have the QA sessions in the end. Okay, yeah, so that will be all the introduction. So now let's have a round of applause for our guest speaker, Richie. So Richie, you can first introduce yourself a little bit and just let us know you better.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dennis, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm Richie. I have my bachelor's degree in mathematics from the University of Michigan. I also have a master's in computer science from the University of Texas at Austin. I've been a math lover ever since middle school. And then I did math competitions. I qualified for the USA Junior Math Olympiad. And I was also dabbled into physics as well. There's a lot of carryover. And I qualified for the USA Physics Olympiad as well.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Yeah, so I think we are also kind of interested in your college stats and also what specifically you did in high school. Yeah, so you can first also share with us some of your college application stats.
Sure. My high school GPA was around a 3.6 out of 4.0. My SAT score, I took the old SAT back when I was in high school. Now it's at a 1600. Back then it was out of 2400. I got a 2270 on that. For the ACT, I got a 34 out of 36. I'd like to add both for the SAT and ACT, I did get a perfect score on the math sections. I also fared well in various math and science competitions. Like physics Olympiad and particularly math competitions like the AMCs and the Carnegie Mellon math contest. I got a really good result in that. Besides that, in high school, I was really into table tennis. And in my junior and senior years, I was the captain of my state team, and we won the state competition.
I see. That's great. So I think, of course, we do have a lot of questions about your math and science competitions and also about the other like GPA or the SAT. But just before we dive into those questions, let me just ask for our audience. So did you also do any other activities in high school, such as club leadership, or it was just mostly about math and science competitions? So the question would be, did you also take any club leadership, or that would just be mostly about math or science competitions? Have you taken any other activities? Can you guys still hear me? Hi, Richie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay.
Maybe there's a raise hand feature. Maybe like some students are shy to just speak out loud. You could try to press that too.
Okay, I think they are not raising their hands. Yeah, so I just like asking the questions. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so have you also participated in any other kind of activities?
Yeah, don't be shy, guys. Like you can, like it's open for everyone to talk, so just feel free.
Yeah. So I think they will also like just post in the chat box if they have any questions.
Cool.
Yeah. But did you also take any other like activities, or just like did you just only have like math and science competitions as the major activities? Rishi? Yeah, so that's a question for you.
That was a question for me.
That's a question for you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think math and science competitions were really my own activities, my only activities. I did table tennis. That was like my other big activity. Besides that, like I played tennis as well. I was never really any good at it. But yeah, those are really my only activities.
Okay, I see. All right, thanks so much. And also, because we have heard that when you apply to college, you actually first applied to a community college before you apply to a 4-year college. So could you please also tell us what happened exactly back then? So why did you apply to a community college, and also what schools were you admitted just eventually?
Yeah, so I mean, it is a really complicated process. So I started out, this was around October, November of 2016. I was in my senior year of high school. I started out just applying as a freshman applicant to various schools. However, I didn't really get many good results at the time. So I was just looking at some admission statistics, and I found out that it was relatively, not for every school, but for a lot of top schools, it was kind of easier to get in as a transfer student. And at this point, I had already taken a lot of college courses to where I would be eligible to transfer if I just did a semester somewhere. So yeah, I decided to enroll in a local community college, and yeah, that's like we'll talk about it more later, but that's the short.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think we will also talk about like some reflections on that. And also, could you just quickly also tell us some of the schools that you got rejected? So I know it might be that good. It's not a good memory, but can you also mention a few schools that you got rejected from?
Yeah. So this is, so like if we go to December of 2016, I did get accepted and rejected from schools after that as a part of my standard freshman application. But at the time, one school I did get rejected from, it was Carnegie Mellon University. I was actually very hopeful for that because I got a recommendation letter from a professor, Poshen Lo. But no, I didn't get that. Later on, as a part of my freshman application, I did get admitted into UC Berkeley through that. But like maybe to kind of compare with that, I did get rejected from UCLA. So yeah, that was for my freshman application. I also got I also got into the University of Minnesota and UW-Madison for my freshman application. And for like, see, it was kind of like a complicated process. Like I did not get my UC Berkeley admission until I think around March timeframe, but I enrolled in the community college in January. So at this point, I was technically not a freshman applicant, even though I'm not sure if they would have really cared about it. But technically, I was not allowed to be a freshman applicant at this point. And through my transfer admission, I got admitted into the University of Michigan. and UIUC. Those were two of the notable schools from that. Some students are asking what major I applied to.
Yeah.
I think most of them that I applied to were mathematics majors. And I think I chose a secondary major for computer science. Yeah, it was
okay.
It was like
yeah,
that.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so I know it's just a complicated process of application. So let me just like summarize a little bit. So Richie actually applied as a freshman applicant to many schools, and because I think it was also quite surprising that you got rejected, even though you have the recommendation from like the coach of the USA math competition like team. So I would say it was quite surprising, but we will also talk more about that later. But eventually he also got like accepted by UC Berkeley, but in that time he was already a student at the community college. So technically he has to be a transfer student for that application. So it's just like it didn't match with his student status, and that's why he decided to go to University of Michigan. Yeah. Okay, great. So I know we do have a lot of questions about your background, but now let's also talk more about your math and science competition experience, because you do have a really good background in math and also in physics competition. So maybe you can first share with us, why did you choose math and physics competition?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started math competitions like, first, I was good at math. Like maybe not always, maybe I wasn't always good at math, but you know, like in 5th grade, 6th grade, like I started to be good at math. Definitely one of the top students in my classroom, like always like top 1, top 2 in my class. And I was also a really competitive person. So at this time, my middle school math teacher, she encouraged me to start doing math competitions through the Math Counts programs. So yeah, I started doing Math Counts, also AMC8s. I didn't get really good results in 6th grade or 7th grade. I did see improvement, but I didn't get really good results. But as I solved more and more problems, I did get better results. In 8th grade, I didn't make Math Counts nationals, but in my chapter competition, I was the winner of that. And on the AMC 8, I got a 24 out of 25 in 8th grade. So I was seeing like some like progress at this point. Like I was starting to win some of the lower level competitions. So that kind of like satisfied the competitive aspect of it for me. And also like the problems that were in these contests, they were actually like really interesting to me. Like at the time I was enrolled at a University of Minnesota like college math program for like middle school, high school students. And the problems here were good. Like I was learning advanced material, but even in this, it wasn't really interesting. Like I wasn't working on anything which kind of piqued my curiosity. And I kind of like started to like these math competitions because they required some sort of creativity to them. And yeah, I continued math competitions in high school. I got good results on AMC 10, AMC 12. I got a perfect score on the AMC 10. And then I qualified for the USA JMO. So this kind of leads me into when I was in 10th grade. I took the AP Physics 1 course in my high school. So I started to get some background for physics. And also at this time, every single Friday, there was a physics PhD who would go over F equals MA problems, and it was kind of like a workshop. We would discuss these problems, and that kind of got me into physics. And then I prepared 10th grade, 11th grade, and I was able to qualify for the USA Physics Olympiad. And one thing I'd like to add is like kind of a similar reason that I liked math, like it required kind of out of the box thinking. There are more interesting problems. The exact same I could say about physics.
Wow, yeah, that's impressive. So just to summarize a little bit, so I think for mathematics, you only started like doing math competitions since middle school, so like around grade 6, and then you and you also saw some good results from your middle school math competitions like Math Con and also MC8, and that kind of supports you to just keep doing math competitions in high school. And also, I would say it was just super impressive that you got a perfect score on MC10 because I know how hard it could be. Yeah, and also end up like qualifying for USAJMO. And did you also go to USAMO, like the USAMO?
No, I did not make USAMO. In 11th grade, I wasn't focusing as much on math competitions. So I was very close in 11th grade, and in 12th grade, I graduated early. So I actually didn't take AMC in 12th grade.
I see, it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I think we will also talk more about that later. And then another thing you mentioned was the physics competition, which I think we will also talk more about that. Yeah, so just this will be a question for our audience. So do we have anyone interested in physics competition? So you can type 1 in the chat if you want to know more about physics competition and also how you can study for physics competition. Okay, wow, yeah, so now you're in the right place. I mean, we have Richie here, and he was just so good at physics competition, and he will definitely be the right person to like ask this question. Okay, yeah, so now the second question will be, since we are all interested in physics competition, so how did you actually study for physics competition?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I got my like a pretty solid baseline for physics with my AP Physics 1 course. Like, yeah, you get a very solid base of like a wide range of topics. So I kind of had some physics background at that point, and of course I had my math competition background, which definitely like carries over as well. And yeah, I went over F equals MA problems, basically, a couple of USAPhO problems. Every single Friday night, there is a physics PhD who is basically like guiding a group of students, me and a few other individuals. Besides that, I'd say a really important aspect is just solving problems. Like discussing with other people and like making sure you have the concepts down and then like your problem solving processes down. So I'd say I solved definitely over 100 F equals MA problems. Maybe the number is closer to 200. But yeah, the cutoffs are around like 15 or so, 15 out of 25 for these exams. So if you have like a good baseline, and if you like work on solving like some of the later questions and nailing down the questions at the beginning of the F equals MA, then I'd say you have a good shot of qualifying for USAPhO.
I see. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I have a few questions for you regarding the AP Physics and also the physics competition. So I think I also got a question in the chat as well. Yeah, so maybe the first question would be, you mentioned that you took AP Physics 1 in your sophomore year. So did you take any other like physics class before you take the AP Physics 1?
Before AP Physics 1, no, I didn't take any other physics courses.
So that would just be the first like physics class ever?
Yes.
Wow, and also like because you only took AP Physics 1 in your sophomore year, and you actually would be able to like just qualify for like USAPHO in the same year, right? Because I remember you qualified for USAPhO or the second year.
The year after.
The year after. Okay, I see. So how big is the gap between like say AP Physics 1 or C and the physics competition like F equals MA? So how big is the gap, do you think?
I would say like definitely some of the more basic problems, they're kind of similar difficulty. But if you want to like qualify for USAPhO, I'd say you have to definitely be like comfortable applying concepts. Yeah, like applying the same concepts, have a stronger understanding of the concepts, and also having like some degree of comfortability with like math, being more creative. I'd say that's needed to solve those F equals MA problems.
I see. Yeah, because I mean, AP physics one is already a hard class, right? Because I think the 5 rate on the AP exam was about like 8% last year. So AP physics one itself is already a hard class. So if you can actually understand all the concepts from AP physics one, then you will be having a good foundation for the physics competition like F equals MA, because you don't have to be perfect on the exam to qualify for USAPhO. As you mentioned, about 15 out of 25, then you can probably just get into USAPhO already. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks so much. And also, so I think the takeaway here is that the AP physics is definitely just going to be the foundation, and also just practice a lot of F equals MA questions will be helpful if you want to just take the exam. And also, by the way, did you take AP Physics C as well? Because I think you didn't mention that class.
Yeah, so I didn't I didn't take the course for AP Physics C. At least I'm talking about AP Physics C mechanics. I did take AP Physics C E&M a little bit later, but this was
after
this is kind of after like my training for F equals MA. But yeah, I never took a course for it, but I had a really strong physics foundation through AP Physics 1. And I had known calculus for about 2 years at this point. So yeah, I just self-studied the Physics C exam on a weekend, and I took the AP exam the following Monday.
Wait, so you actually just studied for the AP Physics C right before like the AP exam? The actual
right before. I don't recommend it. It's not
of course
smart. It worked out for me, but
of course, yeah. So I wouldn't recommend to anyone in the chat actually. So did you guys like try that before? Like, do we have anyone just like study AP exam one day before the test? Yeah, I'm just totally don't think that's possible, but maybe it's okay for you, yeah, because you do have a solid foundation on physics already, but it's definitely going to be a hard exam for most students, I think.
Yeah, but that being said, if you do have a solid foundation in physics, like AP Physics 1, and you have a solid foundation in calculus, if you spend a few weeks for the C exam, like you can definitely get a 5, I'd say.
I see. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for the add-on. And then also, we do have some questions. I think I also heard these questions a lot from our students and also parents. So how exactly did math and physics competition help you in your college application process? Because you mentioned that like science and also math competitions are like kind of the only like big like events or big activities you had when you applied to college, right? So how did they actually help you in this process?
Yeah, so I'd say that when you're like applying to college, colleges like to see that you have like some strength in some area, like you have the ability to get really good at something. And Math Olympiad, Physics Olympiad, these are perfect examples of competitions which showcase your ability to do exceptional in something. So yeah, they definitely like help your application stand out. Like if you qualify for USAMO or USAPhO, your application is going to stand out from the countless other applications which are also very good. So yeah, I guess that's all I'd have to say for that.
Yeah, I think it just speaks itself. Yeah, so because for the USAPhO qualifiers and also just for the USAMO series qualifiers, each competitions only qualify like about 500 students each year. So if you can actually just be one of the qualifiers, then that means you can already stand out. I think the most important thing about college application is to just think about how you can stand out from the other students, because it's all about how to impress the admission officers and make sure you showcase your ability. I think that's quite a good point. Yeah, so we just want to showcase our ability and really just want to like think about how you can let your application stand out. Yeah, so I think also just a takeaway for all of our students, so especially for our freshmen and sophomore in high school, just try to think about how you can impress those college admission officers and also what can you do to stand out. because we are not just saying that you should just all take like math competitions or physics competition. That's not going to be our point, but really just want to ask yourself how you can like impress the admission officers. I think that's going to be the very important thing that you have to always think about in high school. Yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks so much. And also just one more question about the science and also maybe math competition. So we also got a lot of questions from before. So how do we actually tell if science competition is the right extracurricular for, like say, for me? So for our audience, do you guys have these questions? Yeah, if you also want to know about this question, you can type 1 in the chat. Because I got this question a lot. So just want to see if we have anyone interested in this question. Okay, yeah, see, yeah, so we do have, if you want to know the answer for this one, yeah, so because you have gone through like math and also science competitions, I think you also have a good amount of experience to answer this question. Yeah, so what do you think?
Yeah, so I would say that especially for like math Olympiad, physics Olympiad, and also, of course, computing Olympiad, a solid math foundation is extremely helpful. So if you're the type of person who always is able to maybe not get math concepts right away, because when you're learning something new, like everyone is bad, but once you've like learned a math concept, like if you really know it, I'd say that's a good start. Like that's a good signal if you want to join these competitions. Another question maybe you should ask yourself is like, do you have interest in science and mathematics? Like if you have like some genuine interest in these sorts of things, you're probably going to do much better at them. Whereas if like you don't have the interest, like, yeah, you still might do really well, but it's going to be a lot harder to do that. Another thing that's really, really common to these Olympiads, especially since they're at like a much higher difficulty than what you see in your coursework. Like you have to ask yourself, like, are you the type of person who like when they see something difficult, like they get scared and they just give up? Or are you the type of person who like, when you see something difficult, okay, maybe you don't always figure it out, but sometimes you figure it out, and like, do you really like that feeling? If you like that feeling, then I'd say that these math and science Olympiads are definitely for you.
I see. Yeah, so I think we also have a few follow-up questions about those requirements, because you also know quite a few others like doing like math or science competitions. So the first one would be, do all math competitions require a solid math foundation? So like, let's just say that like a student is not that good. Like say he's not doing great in math competition, but he's still okay in terms of math foundation. Would there be any other science competition that could be right for him, or like?
So I'd say more for the liberal arts oriented individuals, I'd say that the biology Olympiad's a very good option.
Okay, so it doesn't require like a crazy level mathematics.
Yeah, it does not.
Okay.
Yep.
I see. And also, would there be any good way to check our math foundation? Like any testing or any way we can tell whether we have a solid math foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a really good gauge is the standardized test, like the ACT or SAT. If you can get a perfect score on the math section, or close to a perfect score, like if you know how to solve pretty much all the questions, I think that's a really good math foundation to get started in these math competitions.
I see. That's actually a new point of view. I just heard about it, because now that I think about this, like it quite makes sense, because for SAT is in particular, the SAT math test knowledge until I think Algebra 2 in terms of the school pathway. And also for the MC10, of course, you should also just know all these concepts already if you want to like take MC10. So yeah, so if you can get a perfect score on like SAT math section, that means you know all the concepts well, right? Because in SAT math, if you like just missed any one question, then you cannot get a perfect score. So they are just quite strict in the math section. So if you got a perfect score in the math section, that means you already know all the concepts well. So I think I like that point. And also, have you taken the new SAT, the 1600 one? Because I think you took the 2400 SAT, the old SAT. I heard a rumor that the SAT math was getting harder since then.
Yeah. I did take the new SAT. I was more training for the old SAT. But yeah, the new SAT, the math section is a little bit more difficult. And there's more emphasis than, say, the old SAT on concepts such as counting and probability. And these are like a pretty big portion of math competitions for sure.
Right. Yeah. So I think nowadays, SAT math, they do have like some counting and probability questions on that. I'm not sure why, but I think those are also some like harder questions you will see. It's type like on SAT, of course, and also in math competition, we are going to use some of those concepts as well. So I think so that makes SAT also a little bit harder than the old SAT, I think. Okay, yeah, thanks. And also, so just to maybe pause a moment and see if we have any questions in the chat. So I think the first one, we will also mention that about like the reflection. So we will save that for later. And also, what factors? Yeah, I think we will also answer that in the following questions. And which physics courses do you need to finish to attend FE Course MA? Yeah, so what do you say about like AP Physics 1 or AP Physics C Mechanics? Which one?
Yeah, so I would say that you probably just need AP Physics 1. But I think that, like, to be honest, I think getting a 5 on AP Physics 1 is actually harder than getting a 5 on AP Physics Mechanics. So I feel like Physics C, it's very helpful because a lot of the problems on the F equals MA, like if you can see that, okay, this problem, I basically have to integrate something or I have to like differentiate something, that'll like make a lot of problems a lot easier actually. So I would say that, yeah, Physics 1 definitely, like that's a great foundation for like a breadth of concepts. But Physics C, it's also really useful, but I don't think you need it per se.
So it's not required, but it's also going to be helpful to understand many concepts, because I think a lot of questions, if you know whether you should like integrate or you should find the derivative, then you can actually understand the questions from another perspective. And that's going to help you in choosing the right answers. Yeah. And also just a quick question, what was your AME score?
It was a 10 out of 15.
Okay, great. Yeah, so of course you qualify for USAJMO, then definitely just a good AME score as well. Okay, yeah, great. Thanks so much. And also, and for those if you want to check if you are interested in those like biology and also physics, we do have some trial lessons next week. So you can scan the code if you haven't like tried our like physics or biology courses. If you haven't taken any of those classes, you can just try the trial lessons and see if you guys like those. Yeah, so we do have biology, physics, and also economics if you are interested. And also, yeah, you can also scan my code and I can also share this class info with you guys. Yeah, so just see if you guys are interested in this. But if you have tried our classes before, then this will be the same contents. Yeah, so you don't have to try this again. Yeah, but if you are interested, you can just scan the code and yeah. Okay, yeah, so let's just wait for about 5 seconds before we move on to the most important part. Yes. Yeah, so we haven't got into Daniel and Christina's question yet, so we will answer those questions. I think it will just be the next one in my slides. Yeah, it will just be the next one. Okay, yeah, so now let's also check out this question, because I think, yeah, so as like Daniel and Christina already mentioned, so if we just now like reflect on our college application, what factors hurt your college application the most? What do you think?
Yeah, so I am looking at this in hindsight, so just like I might be a little bit biased, but I did look at my application compared to a lot of other applications as well. So I'm quite sure this is the reason. So it was definitely my GPA, and not even the GPA per se. Like a 3.6 isn't necessarily a terrible GPA, but specifically, I would say it's that I had some very bad grades in some liberal arts courses. like very bad, like below C, in multiple liberal arts courses. So if anything, I would think it was this, which didn't get me into a lot of schools, even with a professor recommendation letter.
I see. And do you think it's possible to avoid like those low GPAs in the liberal arts courses? And also, because like in terms of those bad grades, like were you just not good at those courses, or you just didn't put enough time studying for those courses? Yeah, what was the reason for that?
So I did put a lot of time studying for those courses, definitely. I think the main reason is that like my peer group in my high school, it was very competitive, and everybody was taking the most advanced courses possible. I mean, maybe I was taking a little bit more advanced STEM courses, but everyone was taking AP, whatever course. They're taking AP History, AP English, and I wouldn't say I was bad at liberal arts, but I was never like good at liberal arts, for sure. So I was taking liberal arts courses, which were, I would say, beyond my ability. So yeah,
so
that's
like
my perspective on it.
I see. So you did spend quite a lot of time on those like courses, but even being that like just devoted into those courses, you still didn't get like a good grades on that. So maybe, as you said, maybe just like beyond your ability. And also, if I remember correctly, so those courses are all just like AP courses, like AP History and AP English, just all the advanced level courses.
Yeah, I mean AP courses, but also even like honors, like honors English courses. Like I did take honors English, honors history in my 9th grade. I got like at my 9th grade end of it, I got all A's and maybe like 3 A minuses. So I still had a quite solid GPA.
Yeah, that was not bad. That was not bad.
But the 10th grade honors English course, it was actually much harder. And even the grading was much harder. The amount of time that it took, it was much harder. And on top of that, I was doing AP European history.
Wow.
So I would say that was too much for me at that point. And if I had just taken more simple English and history courses, I would have gotten good grades in them. I would have gotten A's, maybe A minuses. And in addition to that, I would have actually had a lot more time to focus on my STEM courses and these math and science competitions.
I see. Yeah, so I think this will also be like quite some of the concerns from our students as well, because I know we do have quite a few students who are really good at like STEM courses, like science and math courses, but just not as good as like for the liberal arts, it's just not as good as the STEM courses. So maybe now we have to like just choose and also really consider our course selection, right? So suppose now we just have a student who is not good at like history or also like English. Would you still recommend them like taking the AP History or AP English? So what would you say?
I would say it's not needed. Like if you would say that you have good math potential, you have a good math foundation, in my opinion, your time would be much better spent just taking these easier English history courses, getting good grades in them, and you'd have a lot more time to spend for these contests, and you have a much higher chance of qualifying for one of these Olympiads.
Yes, I see. Because I think nowadays, like many top students, they did mention like something about like time management, like you have to spend your time wisely and also like more efficiently. But I think also another important thing to consider is what can you do like the best at, and also where do you want to like spend your time on? Because if you just choose the right area, then you can put the time and you can get just way better like achievements than just like putting the time in your AP history classes, I think. Yeah, and also I think now just the biggest takeaway I think for our students is that you don't have to take the AP courses that you are not really good at. I think this will be the point we try to deliver, because if you just take this AP class and then like you got a bad grade, it actually hurts your application, right? Rather than just like adding the values to your application.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so don't take the AP courses that you're not good at this, and also try to use your strengths more. Because if you are good at, like, say, math class, then you should definitely take AP calculus, right? Because otherwise, how can you like show up your math ability? And I would say that's kind of the level 1 way to showcase your ability. And then the second level could be just try to participate in some national competition in that area, because that shows you want to take more challenge than the AP courses. Yeah, and if you can actually end up getting awards from national competition like you did, it will just be quite a good values on that. So I think this will be quite a
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. And also, we have one question about like Professor Low's recommendation letter. Yeah, I think we can also maybe mention that a little bit. So how did you get that recommendation letter?
Yeah, so at this time, I believe it was in 10th grade or so, like I was friends with like everybody from the math community, basically. Like I knew a lot of IMO qualifiers. One of my friends, he got a perfect score at the International Math Olympiad. So it's kind of in this circle. And at this time, I was also helping Professor Low, Push and Low, basically like come up with some problems for like training. So that's in conjunction with visiting Carnegie Mellon for their contest, CMIMC. I got good results. I got a good result at that contest on the geometry round. So I kind of formed a relationship with Professor Low at this time. So it wasn't like a recommendation letter per se, but it was kind of like him giving a word to the math department to say, okay, this guy is good. We want him at the school. So yeah, he put in a word for me.
I see. But maybe it's just like, because I heard that in the application process, it's actually the committee will actually make some decisions, and also the department will also make some decisions. So maybe it's also not something he can just decide personally.
Yeah, like of course it'll increase my chances a lot. But of course it's not guaranteed. I didn't get in, so it is definitely not guaranteed.
I see. And also, did you go to any like famous math camp? No,
I did not go to any.
Okay, I see. All right, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, so now because now we have our reflection, so mostly it's just like the bad GPA, especially on the liberal arts courses, because I believe you got like almost a perfect GPA on your STEM, like math or science courses. So it would just be that part that hurt your application the most. So if just say that now we just go back in time, and what could be something that you can fix? How would you fix your college application if you had a chance?
Yeah, so it's definitely just what you're saying. So there's like a lot of peer pressure, right? Like in most schools, there's a lot of peer pressure. Like if I don't take like so-and-so advanced liberal arts course, like maybe my friends will make fun of me. So you don't want to so much be pressured by other people. You're in it for yourself. You're in it for your family. So I would say like you should kind of know what your strengths, what your weaknesses are. And yeah, if I kind of chilled out on those courses, took more easy ones, I'd have a lot more time to spend on math and physics competitions. Those were what like I really loved to do. And if I had like more time to do that, like I would have loved it.
I see. So maybe you would just like have a better results from math or physics competition if you spend just more time on those.
Yeah.
I see. And also, so did you try any like easier like humanity or liberal arts classes after you saw the bad result from the courses?
Yeah. So practically speaking, yes. Technically speaking, no.
Because
so yeah, so in my 11th and 12th grade, like I pretty much didn't do any courses in my high school. I only did courses in college at the University of Minnesota. Yeah, I had to take liberal arts courses because I had to fulfill requirements. But one thing that's notable is that college students, like, yeah, they're smarter than high school students, but like college level liberal arts courses aren't necessarily extremely difficult. So yeah, I took the basic college level liberal arts courses, and I was able to do fine on them. Like I'd get like a mix of A's and B's on those.
I see. So you were just like the sophomore year was just so terrible, but
Yeah.
actually in your junior year, so even though the courses were just about like the similar difficulty, but you still could get like better results
Yeah.
from those.
I mean, I don't think there's similar difficulty. My 10th grade, it was much harder. Much
I
harder.
see. Yeah. So you just, I think AP European history is just like it's just a nightmare.
Yeah, and maybe it depends on your particular school. You'd have to see. But I was from one of the top high schools in my state. So it was a very rigorous curriculum for us.
I see. Okay, I agree. Okay, yeah, thanks so much. And also I think now if we also think about this, right? So if we really want to build just the application around our math and science like spike. So we like say we already attended some math and science competition, and maybe not like the USAMO level, but maybe it's just some AB level like qualification. So which other factors can best like supplement our math and science competitions and also help on the college application?
Yeah, like you said, even if you make Amy, for example, that's still going to help your college application, like absolutely. And I would say, like, if you want to get good at this stuff, I'd say like time is a really important factor. Like there's no substitute for solving more problems, and to solve more problems you need more time. Like other things which are also really helpful are good teachers, because they will one, they'll help you form your own thought process, your own way of thinking, and second, they'll expose you to like standard ideas and maybe like more specific ideas, which like top competitors know. Besides that, I'd say having a good peer group, like if you have friends who are enthusiastic about solving problems, they get excited, they push each other, that's absolutely a great thing. And yeah, the last thing is perseverance. Like you will face challenges, you will like encounter problems where you feel like you have you're not making much progress, but yeah, if you can really push through it, just day in, day out, I mean, maybe not every day, but if you have some kind of consistency and if you don't give up, that's an extremely important thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think if you want to get like ever good results from like any competitions, I would say time is definitely important, because you want to have enough time to do practice. Like without practice, you wouldn't get like just good results from any competition, I would say. And also good teachers will definitely just help a lot, because teachers can help you first of all, just summarize what you should know about each competition and also really guide you through this process. Yeah, so having good teachers can help you a lot. And also having just other people, I think if you have some friends who are also doing like the competition with you, then you will feel the support from the community, and also it will help you to just like put time in that. Because if you just study alone, I'm sure that is going to be a little bit boring, I would say, like, because, yeah, but if you have some friends, then it would definitely just be better. And also just speaking of friends, so I know you just know many people doing like math or science competitions. So do you know anyone else who got accepted in top colleges because of math and science competitions, and how exactly did they just got admitted because of those?
Yeah, so I'll kind of give like two answers to this, because I do like I had my local high school, of course, where I knew everyone intimately. But I also knew people like all over the country, IMO participants, people who qualified for MOP, IOI participants, like list goes on. But I'd say in my high school, it's a really selective high school. So let's say like, I mean, also maybe because it's really large. Like someone from my high school with similar stats to someone in a smaller high school elsewhere in the state, the person in my high school would get into a less satisfactory college. But of the people in my high school who did get into these top colleges, the majority, they either did like really well in math competitions, almost at the Olympiad level, or they actually like made these Olympiads. To name like a few examples, there are students who are like USAMO qualifiers who got into Harvard, USACO Gold competitors. They got into, I think it's MIT, and like similar story for USA Physics Olympiad. If you did not like qualify for one of these Olympiads or have like comparably good results in these contests, it was much more difficult to make your application stand out. Even if you had a 4.0 GPA, 36 ACT, perfect SAT, like a lot of those students, they still did not get into Harvard and MIT. They'd have to go kind of like a tier lower, if you'd have to say that. So yeah, like that's the story there. And of course, I knew other people across the country. They did fantastic in these competitions, and they also got into these top schools like Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Princeton. So just to be like short, it's possible to get admitted into these top colleges without these Olympiads, but I'd say like it's difficult. And I'd say this is kind of because colleges are looking for you to be really good in something. I know one of my friends, he became a chess grandmaster. He didn't qualify for the Olympiads, but just that in and of itself got him into Princeton.
I see. So maybe it's just not like limited to math or science, but I mean, math or science is definitely just going to be the most popular the competitions you can compete, and also just because it's also well recognized, right? So all the colleges would know like USAMO or USAPhO, they know these competitions already. And also just in other areas like chess you mentioned, if you can actually just got into this national level award, then it's going to help you stand out, because like after all, it's going to be standing out from all the other applicants.
Yeah, definitely.
And you cannot just like stand out from like for GPA 4.0 in GPA or like perfect score on SAT. Those wouldn't be enough to stand out, especially for the top Ivies or just the top colleges. You have to stand out using those national awards.
Yep.
I see. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, thanks so much. And also, I think we do have a lot of questions from the chat box. So I think we can also now have a round of QA sessions. And also, if you do have any like questions in particular, you can also scan my code just in the bottom right corner. So I think we can start from the question. I think we have some questions about the first one is the F equals MA. So is it worse if you spend like 1 to 2 years learning F equals MA and cannot get in the final run? So I guess it would be the USAPhO in your junior year. Is it still good for college applications if the score is high? So I guess maybe it's just like the F equals MA is okay, but just not as good as the qualification.
Yeah, like I would still think that it would definitely help for college applications. It'll definitely help. It won't help as much, but it'll still be worthwhile.
Yeah. And also about your high school. So was your high school a typical public school or a magnet school? So maybe like competitive or school like that.
Yeah, it was a public school, but it was one of the top public schools in my state.
I see. And smaller high school is better when applying to university.
I would say it depends, but in at least my state, that tended to be the case. In some smaller high schools, there were students who didn't get as good GPA or competition results, but I can think of one in particular. He got into Stanford still.
I see. And also, are there any other spikes besides math or physics competition that helps one stand out in college application?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one is computer science competition. but yeah, there's other spikes as well. Like we mentioned, like if you're really good at chess, that could be one. Also, if you're really good at sports, like if you're one of the top in your states or you're close to the Olympic level, that would definitely help you out as well. There's also like science competitions. I don't know too much of those off the top of my head, but there's at least back when I was in high school, there was like Intel, and people who did well in that, that was also helpful for standing out. Other things are, I'd say like college level coursework. That's one, maybe even beyond AP, like a lot of people do AP, but even beyond that, and maybe research as well. That's one too.
I see. Okay, yes. And also, do you think the math class in your high school helps you a lot? I think it will be in terms of the competitions. Yeah. So would you say about like how the school math or science class help you in those competitions?
I wouldn't say it's like directly helpful, but I would say that the basic concepts, that basic understanding of the material, that is very important.
But maybe not like directly for the competitions, because you do have to do more. Because I think for USAMO, you also attended like the Friday workshop just to go through those problems. I mean, without that, maybe it's going to be harder to qualify for USAMO. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, great. And also the math camps worth attending, because you haven't attended like many math camps, so maybe that's not something. Or do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, there's a lot of math camps, but I don't think you need to go to one per se. I would say it's important that you solve a lot of problems and you just like discuss with people.
Yeah, I see. And also for the lower GPA, the main reason for that, I can, do you want to answer this, or you can just quickly recap?
Wait, which question?
Was the lower GPA the main reason you were refused by the top university?
Yeah, definitely. Besides that, my application was quite good. There were no like red flags in it, but like poor grades and some specific courses, those are definitely red flags.
Yeah, because I think if you also compare with the other applicants, you mentioned that if someone has like just similar background as you do, but just with some higher GPAs, they got admitted into top colleges.
Yeah, they'd get into top college for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So which year did you graduate from high school?
2017, but technically I graduated December of 2016.
I see. So, and also, what do you value most for the colleges or universities, the academic, culture, research, or community? So I guess it will be how you choose which college you want to apply to.
I mean, it depends. Like, it depends on your specific situation. Like Ivy League schools, for example, they do have better education, but they also are more expensive. For example, that being said, University of Michigan is also very expensive. But I would say, like, yeah, for now you have as much control over this as possible, like to get into the best school that you can. But regardless of what school you end up going to, like there's life after college as well. So if you're like really like serious about your coursework in university, you should be fine either way.
I see. Yeah, so I think also you can answer this as well. So would you rather study STEM major in big public school like UC Berkeley or Michigan, or just like Ivy League schools like Yale or Princeton?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, an Ivy League school.
Yeah. True. Yeah, because of the name, right? The brand, or
yeah, the brand, and also like the peer group is just better. Like you're discussing with smarter students.
I see. That makes sense. And also, if a student gets a top honor for national competitions, a finalist, is GPA still a matter?
Yeah, it does matter. I won't mention his name for privacy, but one of my friends, I think he's a year older, He was on the USA team for the International Math Olympiad.
Wow.
And he did not get into any top colleges. He didn't focus on his grades. He just focused on math competitions.
Like just all in for math competitions.
All in. And he got into Michigan State University. I think that's the best school he got into.
So do you still remember her GPA? Like just the estimation?
Low 2 point something, high 1 point something.
Okay, I see. Yeah, so I think like you should still care about your GPA. Like even though if you have like the being in the USA math team, like it wouldn't just help your application if you just have a super low GPA, I think. So yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's just answer one more question and that would just be it. I know it's about the time. Yeah, so the next one will be, did you do any community service or like volunteer activities?
Yeah, I did do volunteering. I was coaching the math counts team, not as like the official coach, because the official coach is usually a middle school teacher. But yeah, I was helping train in my school district, there was a couple of middle schools. I was helping train them. And then I also helped train the students who went from the state competition to the national competition.
I see. So it's mostly about like coaching and tutoring for those like math competitions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was mainly like perhaps I did something else, but I can't really recall it.
Okay, I see. All right, yeah, so I think that will be just the time for today. Yeah, so thanks so much, Richie, for this wonderful webinar. And also, if you guys have any questions, you can also just let me know and I can forward those questions to Richie as well. Yeah, but thanks so much, Richie, for being here today. And also, I'm sure that we all learned a lot from you. And also in terms of like math or science competitions, you did give us like pretty much insights on those. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you too, Dennis.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here tonight. Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.
Yep. Take care, guys.
Bye.